So I'll try to show you briefly 42 tips and tricks in PHPStorm and hope that each of you will find at least a few which you don't know yet, which you will be able to implement in your workflow and be more productive with PHPStorm. So by the way, how many of you already use PHPStorm? Raise a hand. Oh, yeah, okay. Those who don't use, just you should just look around and ask everyone why do they use that. We start with the first trick, and that's basically related to the moment when you want to learn something new about the tool and you don't know what you don't use, and there are many features which are not that obvious to, and they're not that easy to discover. So apart from listening to this talk, you basically can go to help productivity guide, and that's the thing I definitely encourage you to discover, because it lists a lot of different tips and a lot of different stuff which is in the IDE, and it also shows the stats of how many times you actually use that. So I've used basic code completion 1 hour ago, and I never used like completion in findbar, for example, and probably I need to use that. And you can explore what's here. You can understand what you use, what you don't use, and read these tips and also follow to learn many new stuff. And also you can boast with your colleagues to compare how many possible bugs you prevented, or how many characters and keystrokes PHPStorm has saved you from typing. So that's definitely the first thing you need to do. And the second, if you want to find anything in the IDE, there is a special search for that that's called Search Everywhere, and that can be invoked with double shift. So I just use it to find all kind of files, classes, all kind of symbols. I can also search for settings, different kinds of, yeah. So we get all the actions as well, in addition to files, classes, symbols, and all the rest. So if you try to find something, just start with Search Everywhere. That's double shift, and that's really a time saver, because you don't need to select what kind of search you would like to perform. The next one is actually search in all the tool windows we have. So for example, our project tool window, and we want to find some file, and we just start typing security, and yeah, we just find everything we need, and that works in all the tool windows and also in settings or preferences. So if we want to find something related to like editor, so yeah, we start typing and we instantly navigate it there. So if you try to explore the IDE, that's the best ways to do that. So what I've done right now, I was going around.
For instance, if you search security,
yeah,
is there then a key to go to the next thing it finds, or it always goes to the first occurrence?
I think there is a key, but I don't actually remember that. So there are many keys, and you can basically get a very good brochure with all the hotkeys in the IDE. So yeah, but down arrow. Yes. So yeah, here we go. Down arrow. Thank you. So yeah, and what I've just done actually once again is that if we do something in the IDE and we go around the dialogues and all the rest, we can always get back to the editor with just escape key, and we are back. You probably can press it a couple of times to get out of everything, but yeah, we can be in our editor back just in a few keystrokes. And then when we explore some codebase and we see a lot of inspection results on the right, and you can navigate here and to see what's going on, and basically from one inspection result to another one we can go with our function too. So we go between all the errors in the file, and that's really fast way to navigate between them to understand what's actually wrong here, or what kind of inspections give us some interesting results we need to explore. And also, if we don't want to use the mouse at all, and actually that's possible, you can just use a lot of different navigation shortcuts. For example, my favorite one is Command E or Control E on Windows Linux. So basically that goes through all the recent files you've been working with, and you can also search here as well. And that's really easy. Yeah, so we go here, for example, and we navigate there instantly. And you can also look at this navigation navigation list. So there are different kinds of navigation to classes, symbols, and all the rest, but most of them actually can be replaced with search everywhere. So going next, the most usable shortcut you basically use in PHPStorm is completion, so that's counter space. But there is also Alt-Enter, which is quick fix, and quick fix provides you different quick fixes to the code you are working with. So if there is kind of inspection which provides you a warning or an error or whatever, it possibly contains some kind of solution, a basic solution which can be implemented. So in this case, for example, there is no method set definition, so we just can press Alt-Enter and add the method here, and that's it. It will be added in the relevant place. And also, if we, for example, don't have some PHPDoc in place, so for example for this function, we can implement generate PHPDoc and generating code in general. That's Command N or Control N on Windows, Linux, and basically it gives us a choice of what kind of code we can generate here. So here, for example, we would like to generate PHPDocs. So we want to do that for load. And here we go. All the parameters we have in this method has been taken care of, and a standard PHPDoc is got generated here. And basically you can also change the format of PHPDoc blocks generated in the preferences. So yeah, that's really fast and easy to document your code, for example, and then provide everything you need. Next thing is refactoring. Well, because PHPStorm is known for its refactoring, safe refactorings across the entire code base. So to invoke refactoring easily, well, of course, we can go to the context menu, we can go refactor, rename, but we can also just be here and use Control T, and that's Refactor This. So basically, that provides all the relevance options to refactor. And let's do rename, log test, and we also can preview all the occurrences before basically refactoring that, so that it's even more safer. So we just check that we don't refactor, rename anything which is not needed, and then we can do refactor or just cancel, going through all the occurrences of that. Next thing which can be really useful is live templates. So that's a small snippets, that's very small chunks of code which can be provided in preferences. So basically we have those predefined for HTML, JavaScript, PHP, SQL, and all the rest. So if you type this kind of small annotation, then you press tab and you get, for example, for each. And we do that here, so we just begin typing for each, press tab, and we got a for each here. And that was until PHPStorm 9, and PHPStorm 9 actually going to be released in a couple of weeks. And what we implemented from the editing side is additional thing, well, which looks like live templates. It's not actually live templates, but that's very handy, and the concept behind that is quite interesting. So that's postfix code completion. So when we do completion right now, we just do that with Control space, and we do that before we want to complete anything. So with postfix completion, we can provide some variable, for example, variable a is equal to 1, and then we post annotate it with if, and then we press tab, and the expression we just typed, it converted to conditional, and we have different types of that also for other loops and all the rest. That's very handy, so that saves you time on getting back with your caret in the editor. Also, good thing might be is expand selection. So, for example, we are here at config variable, and we want to go further. So we use Alt and up arrow key to expand the selection, and it expands by blocks. So it starts with a variable, then it goes to the next one, then it goes to entire expression, and here the line, and then to the content of the method, and then goes further. And just to get it back, you just do Alt Enter down arrow. Next thing is that if you are working on a few files, or if you need to look up easily and see what's going on in another file, we can split the editor vertically or horizontally. So basically we get two different editors, yeah, all have all the capabilities of PHPStorm. So highlighting, refactoring, and all the inspections, everything's there. So that just two editor panes, which might be really convenient to use in many cases. Going further, when we explore the code base, there are many inspections reporting us some results, and there are some errors, warnings, possible bugs, all the rest, like even misspellings. So we can use an editor lens, which is basically a magnifying glass, which you can invoke by hovering the right gutter of the IDE, and it provides you everything what's going on in this part of the file annotated with the results of the inspections. So it might be a really fast way to explore what gone wrong, especially in really big PHP files. Going further, for those who really enjoy editing like something really quick or just copy pasting to the editor and working on temporary files, we have since PHPStorm 8, I think, yeah, since PHPStorm 8, we have a scratch file, so that can be created by Command-Shift-N or Control-Shift-N on Linux Windows, and that's basically a temporary file with predefined extensions. For example, for PHP, we just get it here, and then we can write valid PHP. And when we don't need this file anymore, we can just dispose it. So that's basically very convenient when you try to do something really quickly and you don't want to save the files to the project, because the concept of the idea of PHPStorm is that all the files are in the project, and we are working with the concept of projects in general. So with the scratch files, you can work around in a way that you don't have a file in the project, but you still have all the stuff PHPStorm provides, at least most of the stuff. So yeah. Next thing is this nice guy in the right bottom gutter. We call him Hektor the inspector. So Hektor shows you and lets you configure different ways of like interacting with the editor and how much PHPStorm should actually be involved in what you are doing. So in this project I have PHP and HTML, so I can configure what do I want. I want PHP inspection, syntax or none, and the same for HTML. I can also configure inspections, and if you are, for example, on some transatlantic flight and you don't have any power plug and you would like to code on your laptop for entire flight, you can activate power save mode, which basically disables a lot of inspections. It disables a lot of things PHPStorm is doing in the background to save your battery. So you will lose a bit in inspection side, so you will lose a bit of IntelliSense and all the intelligence of the IDE. But if you need to save the battery, that's the way to go. So it will use less CPU, and you can just code more in terms of the time. Might be handy if you travel a lot. So next one is related to inspections. So there are a lot of inspections in PHPStorm, and all of them are run in the background by PHPStorm and reported to the editor. But there is also a way to run inspection by name, for example. So if you want to find other typos, for example, so we just start here. Well, we don't do that on whole Symfony project to save time on the demo. So yeah, so we got it all here, and that can be done for all inspections, and it actually can be done that all inspections in bench are run against your project, and you get all the inspection results here. So you can explore all the inspections from your project. It can be very good if you would like to understand the general state of the project right now, and to understand what's broken, what's there, and stuff like that. So going next, I'm sure all of you use VCS, but there are some moments when you have some changes which are not actually committed to the VCS, and you screwed up at some point, and there is something removed from the file, or I don't know, something went really bad on the file system and you need to restore it. And in this case, there is a local history which behaves in a way really similar to like VCS, but well, without any kind of committing everything or whatever. It just tracks all the changes in your files, and it shows you diff what you've done, and on every major thing you are doing about the file or about the project, it will make a mark a kind of a invisible label that there was a change and the change is here. So basically you can roll back and you don't need to commit or push anything anywhere, so that it's tracked for entire project. And that might be very handy. And you also can create custom events, so that you put the label at some point. For example, I refactor this. I'm not sure, so just put the label, and maybe I would like to roll back to this state of the application. The next one, which might be very useful for testing your RESTful web services, is basically a REST client. So it's a full-fledged REST client right inside the PHPStorm. So you can specify the headers, you can specify request parameters, and you can add anything you actually want. So also you can add cookies for authorization, for example, and well, you just run a simple one to my local host. So you'll get a response, and well, it's easy parsable. It's also can switch. The style can be also switched. So here we have HTML. You can also use like JSON, XML. So that will be treated in the way you select that, and we also can open that in the browser right from here. And we can implement here and use different HTTP methods. So we just select what we need, we send a request, we get a response, and then we work from there. So you don't need to actually switch anywhere to test your RESTful APIs when you work on them from PHPStorm. Another thing we introduced for quite a while, or for almost half a year now, is that all the things related to remote development. That's when you don't have a real local environment, you don't have your real PHP local environment, and you take advantage of some virtualized environments, such as Vagrant, for example, or you just have your server and you just use it. So you don't want to configure all the PHP environment and all the debugging and all the stuff locally. So currently we have remote PHP interpreters right here. So I have quite a plenty of them here. So basically I have locals, well, which is quite easy, and I also have remote. So if I have some server, or if I have some Vagrant or Xen server or whatever, I can map PHPStorm to use the interpreter working remotely. So you don't need a local interpreter for that. And PHPStorm will use it for all the actions where interpreter is actually needed. And also now from PHPStorm 9, we'll be able to also use it for PHP code sniffer and mess detector, so you can take advantage of real remote development, so you don't need to configure any real local installation of your PHP environment. And basically, remote PHP interpreter can be defined with SSH credentials, Vagrant, or just deployment configuration. So it's really easy to do that. Yeah. Going next, there are many ways when you need to take advantage of some external tools, and you need to run them. You need to run them, I don't know, for example, against your code, or you have some bash scripts which you need to run before deployment or whatever. So PHPStorm comes with external tools, and we can define some specific external tool. Let's name it test. So we have groups, descriptions. We can ask PHPStorm to synchronize files after execution, so that if you perform any actions on their PHP on the project you're working inside PHPStorm, so that actually all the files are fetched again and checked that nothing has changed or something changed. Yeah, so we just define the executable. We also have for different macros, so for example file directory, names, file names, and all the rest, so that we can actually give parameters to your tool. And then we save it, apply, and here in tools we have external tools. So basically this tool is right now in the menu, and if we go to keymap and search for this external tool, so basically we can map some specific keyboard shortcut to execute this tool. So that might be really handy if you want to perform some changes outside of PHPStorm. And apart from that's mostly about local tools, but we have the same as there is very good SSH support. We have the same SSH external tools. So basically you can map PHPStorm keystroke to run some specific action, some specific tool on your remote server, and that's also can be very useful before deployment or before you do some changes or whatever. So yeah, you can use SSH external tools as well, and they will be run remotely and also can take advantage of remote environment. Going next, well, we have a terminal right in PHPStorm, so you don't need to go anywhere to perform any kind of terminal commands you need. But we also have tabs. So tab 2, and the very cool thing is that you basically can detach the tab, and you can put it here in the editor, so it really looks cool, and you just have a full terminal in your editor window. And if you have a few screens, you basically can detach it to different screens as well, and that's also applicable for all the PHPStorm editor tabs. So you can detach this tab and you can move it to another screen. So if you're using some kind of, I don't know, seven monitor installation in your office, you just move all the tabs to 7 different monitors and work there, and you can really understand what's going on around the entire application. Moving a bit to deployment part. So basically what we have is called remote hosts, and remote hosts working with FTP, SFTP, FTPS, mounted folders, and whatsoever. And basically what we have is a proper configuration for deployments, and we need to provide, well, in this case, not to rely on conference internet, I use just mounted folder. So we provide mappings, which is, well, very important, so that we actually understand how to map your remote server to local environment PHPStorm relies on. And after that, we can see everything that was located on the remote server right here in remote host, and we can also see that there is a mapping. So there are basically remote hosts are mapped on local project, and from here, start from PHPStorm 9. If you want to make some really quick changes on the remote server, well, never do that on production, but if you need to change some configuration or whatever, you just can edit remote file. So the file will be opened in PHPStorm. It's not going to be downloaded. It can be just opened here, and you just make changes. Okay, indentation. You can see the div here as well. As by the way, in the div, that's a new thing called one-side viewer. So we used to have this div, and now we have one-side viewer, which basically provides you only one view, and you see what's been changed there. So yeah, you see the changes for your file. You just change it, and you can just deploy it back to the remote server, and then just close it. So yeah, just reminds me that I haven't deployed it yet. And one very good thing about deployment is that, well, of course, at any point we can just get this and deploy it to any server. We have proper mappings, so it's going to be uploaded. In case of mounted folder, that was quite fast. And then we can deployment, and we can use automatic upload. So basically every time you change anything locally in the PHPStorm, every time you make changes in your files, then they can be deployed to your server automatically, so you don't need to trigger deployment extensively. And that's very convenient for your development environment when you, again, don't have it on your local machine, but you have some remote server. For Vagrant, well, for Vagrant the best way would be to actually sync the folders, because that's located on your machine. But for remote server, you have an access over SSH or whatever. You just make an automatic upload. Everything is uploaded whenever you edit that, and then you see that on the live server. So that's deployment and remote hosts. And we'll move a bit to the front end side. So for that, I have this Twitter Bootstrap project with just some examples to show you. So the most powerful thing about working in PhpStorm or WebStorm is more for front-end development without PHP, basically. The best thing I believe you can do there is take advantage of for live edit. So live edit, let me just show you. If you locate PhpStorm window and browser window, so I use Chrome in this case, we have a special extension for Chrome. You can just install it from the Chrome repository, or it will be installed automatically with PhpStorm when you install live edit plugin. So we have this file which is running on actually our built-in server, and we just was inspecting PhpStorm. And also another way to do that is to invoke that from their IDE side with debug some HTML or JS file, and then we get a debugger connection. So JavaScript debugger is connected from the PhpStorm to the Chrome extension, and we can do a lot of really cool stuff. So for example, let me find, yeah, here we go. So basically that's live edit. So whatever you do in PhpStorm will be simultaneously shown in Chrome, and you don't need to restart the page. So it will be restarted by PhpStorm automatically. And also another thing I really like, color picker. So you can choose color and it will be changed right here, so you can see how it actually works. And I think that's like really cool for all kind of front-end development you do. And let's just stop the debugging process to get the bigger screen. Yeah, and there's also live templates I told you about before, and they implemented for different languages. And for front end there is Emmet, which is basically live templates with a lot of different options. So if you type div and then lorem, that's lorem ipsum 5 times, and press tab, we've got div, and that gets lorem ipsum inside 5 times. So you could do that 20 times, or whatever you want, or div.test, and yeah, and div got, and the main div got class test. So that's like really handy to do that fast, and yeah, really trendy actually. Another thing is which we have right now is simultaneous tag editing. So you see, I just edited this tag, and it changes the closing tag, the matching tag. So if you edit the closing one, it will also, well, edit the starting one. That's really convenient if you make some changes, and in many cases, well, there are many cases when you can forget to change the relevant tag. So PhpStorm will just do that for you in HTML and XML files. And the last thing about front-end stuff, many actually now switch to different languages transpiling to either CSS or JavaScript. So that's like Sass, CSS, less, and for JavaScript that's CoffeeScript, TypeScript, and whatsoever. So we have special functionality. I think that's in settings. Yes. Yeah, file vouchers. So basically, we can create a file vouchers. It will be looking for less files in your project, and every time you change anything in the last file, it will automatically regenerate the CSS file. So basically, you don't need to run any kind of external commands to do that. You don't need to go to a terminal. You don't need to run anything else. So you just provide file type. You provide program executable which will be used to transpile these files, and you provide arguments, directory, and that's it. As soon as you edit less, it's just compiled or transpiled to CSS instantly. Another thing we still haven't looked at yet is debugging. So debugging is basically one of the major things you need IDE for. And well, looking at a general instead of debugging and how it works in PhpStorm and, well, in general for PHP, what we need to do is to start the session from the browser side. So the entire workflow would be looking like that. So you first configure your PHP environment, and we have a lot of helpers related to that in PhpStorm. So there is a validate debugger, and there is also a new one in PhpStorm 9, which we can show you in the interpreters. Yeah, so basically it shows you version, debugger, and for example, if I have proper configuration file here, I just open it in the editor, and I configure xdebug here. Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, so basically we have it configured, and then what do we need to do is to start PhpStorm listening for debugging connections, and we need to place a breakpoint somewhere. For example, let's put it here. Then that's basically all the configuration you need to do from the PhpStorm side. All the rest was done from PHP environment side, which we, well, can't affect, but we'll try to guide you through that, and we'll try to show you all the errors you might have made there. Then we go to the browser. So I have some MetaWiki project here, and I have a special Chrome helper, Chrome xdebug helper that's called. We have special bookmarklets provided by PhpStorm, but they are not that convenient as this Chrome helper, because it just goes next to your address line URL, and you just press debug, and you restart the page, and that's it. We just hit the first breakpoint we got, and then we begin to go through everything we basically want to explore. And we can step in, we can step out, we can see what are the variables right here. And what we have from PhpStorm 9, again, a new feature which is really trendy, is that for everything you already got in the debugger, every step you got through, you see this annotation, this value on the right. So every variable in the editor is provided with a value as soon as you actually hit that. So yeah, and that's like really convenient, because you don't need to really look at the bottom pane of PhpStorm anymore, because you see all the values right in the editor, and yeah, you just go next, and that's it. Yeah. So going back to this one, for example, we have two very good actions here. So the first one is copy value as printer or export or JSON encode. So that might be like really convenient if you need to get that. And there is also compare value with clipboard, because at some point you want to understand whether your previous stuff is actually the same as current one. So I had some SQL queries. Obviously it's not, but you can use it for quite meaningful things. So that's debugging, and one more thing I want to show you today is databases integration. So probably you know that PhpStorm comes with all the database stuff, so basically you don't need SQL Yoke or MySQL Workbench. You can do everything inside PhpStorm. So you configure connection to your database, and there are drivers for many different databases. So basically you need to have JDBC drivers so that PhpStorm can connect to your database, and well, there are those for most of modern databases. So I configure all the connection, or I can actually use an SSH tunnel if I don't have a direct connection. I select schemas and tables which I need to use, and sometimes some advanced configuration if you need that. So after that, all the databases I connect to are scanned and indexed, and I get all the information about what's going on. I got proper refactorings, in fact, and also I have SQL preview for that. So I can basically make rename for tables, fields, and whatever. And I also can take advantage of looking at all the contents of the table, and I can change it live as well. And can see the query we just executed, and I can detach it. I can see the documentation, and also I can run any kind of queries in this console. So and we get all the completions. So from this one, yes, let's go this one. If we press function 1, we actually get documentation with what's actually going on in this table and what that and all the rest. And completion for SQL is quite convenient in this case, but it's even better if we, let's do it here. So if we do some MySQL query and we have select here, so if I try to complete that, there are no suggestions, so I do Alt Enter, again quick fix, and inject language or reference. I select SQL, but basically you can do that for many different languages. For example, you can do HTML or JavaScript. You can inject those languages in any variables and strings, and then it's completed. So I've got the completion for all the SQL stuff inside my MySQL query, and then I can select what SQL Server to use, and then I can edit fragment here without messing up with PHP code. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you about SQL, and basically I promised to show you 42 tips and tricks. I think I've already about 43, so that's the time to switch to the questions. So I hope that you found something interesting for you and something useful. So if you have any questions, I'm ready to ask them, to answer them. So.
Does it write database things to a file or to clipboard or something? So if you change a column or that kind of things, can it do like a write out to a file?
To write out to, sorry?
To a file or clipboard? Or
Well, basically, what you can do is that for anything you do here, you can see their actual SQL query, and he also can, I think, yeah. I think very good thing would be a comparison. So you can compare different databases. So you have local database and you have remote. So you do comparison between local and remote, and you can get all the actions which actually have been executed. And you can get the diff between those, and you can then apply that to the remote database.
When you use the scratch files,
Yeah.
Is it simply like a notepad for you to look how something works, or does it actually execute in the browser also?
If I'm not mistaken, that's actually let's not executable as far as I remember, but you can do some of the actions. For example, refactorings. So you can't actually debug that. So, but you can probably even get some completion. Let me check that. Yeah, you get standard completion from the same project. So that's more like, well, the idea behind that is more like a notepad. So you have a kind of a notepad. But we try to get as much intelligent features of PHPStorm here as possible. But debugging here and deployment is quite complicated because you need to know path mappings and all the rest. So, yeah.
thanks, a lot of new shortcuts, but I missed my favorite one, the multiple selection.
Yes. So, I don't, let me, yeah, so what we do is actually, well, multiple selection is very sublime text style feature. So, well, it's not really convenient to do that in PHP file. Let's go to here. So, for example, I'm here and I press Alt, and I just select it with the mouse a few columns, and I can basically edit everything here, and also get a completion as well, and it will be like everywhere. So that's Alt, and you just select with the mouse whichever lines you want at any places. So Basically, many things you can do with multiple selection with this column selection can be also done with refactorings. So don't use that to refactor the code. Use proper refactorings, but that might be very handy. For example, when you work with some data files like CBS files or whatever. So you select a lot of lines, and then you just edit it there. There's also an action of select next occurrence. I don't remember what's the shortcut. So we can select all occurrences of that, and also we can just selection for the next occurrence. That's Control G, find next, move to next occurrence, Command G, and all occurrences are Command Shift G. Yeah, that's column selections.
What happens to these crash files when you have a power outage?
That's actually a problem. If they're not saved explicitly, then that would actually depend on kind of power outage. So if that would, well, I mean, with the laptop actually nothing happens, but but yeah, if PHPStorm caches needs to be restored, so basically if PHPStorm was doing something and caches crashed, so they were corrupted during the blackout, then Scratch file would be lost because it basically stored in the temporary files, and if it's going to be reindexed, it's going to be lost. The same goes for local history, for example. So local history is kept from the last invalidating of the caches. So yeah.
How do you prevent the folder from being indexed by PHP?
There is exclude folder. I think we can configure it here. Here.
Just keyboard is directories.
Directories, yeah. Yeah. So here we can basically mark some of them as excluded. So we can just try that, and yeah, that's it. Oh yes, sorry, yeah, mark directory as excluded. That's easy way. Just didn't spot that.
Is there any support for multi-user editing?
No, not really. I've actually I've seen some project on the internet which actually does that, but I haven't tried that. And they have a project for like IntelliJ. I'm not sure if that's compatible with PHPStorm. Most probably, well, it might be so. But yeah, that's some very not JetBrains project or product, so I don't know much about that.
What are the things you're focusing on for PHPStorm 10? What are the big new features in the pipeline?
That's really hard to say actually, because we are just finalizing PHPStorm 9. So as soon as we finalize it, we make a proper brainstorm of what to introduce in PHPStorm 10. But basically what we focus these days in many ways is revising the experience you already have. So for PHPStorm 9, we focused on editing experience and debugging experience. So it feels, well, known and different from like a different side, because we try to improve and implement some new features which will be really helpful for you. So probably we'll just be revising some other experiences to make it even more smooth. And we also, we keep in mind PHP 7, which is coming in autumn. So PHPStorm 10 should be scheduled somewhere around late autumn or winter. So basically, PHP 7 support should be coming in PHPStorm 10, or maybe earlier in PHPStorm 9 if we'll be able to do that in all their updates we will be issuing. So just stay tuned. I think in a couple of months there will be a roadmap for PHPStorm 10.
How do you recommend keeping different team members in sync? Because we see a lot of people going through a lot of PHPStorm configuration to get it just right. And it would be awesome to have it completely in sync, because some of the stuff is specific to a project and sync to the ID map folder.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other stuff like deployment configuration, for example, is not shareable. How would you recommend keeping people in sync?
We actually try to make all of that now proper syncable, so that, for example, deployment configurations can be shared, as well as server configurations. So I think that deployment came like last version, and server configuration comes PHPStorm 9. So there is also a very good plugin which is basically a cloud server. Well, it's not a cloud. You can use a Git repository to store your settings, and then you can share the link with your colleagues. So you can either export all your settings there, or you can import from there. So a good way would be to use this plugin, and then you just upload all your settings, and all your collaborators will get it from their Git repository as soon as you change that. So you just need to update that, and that's it. And the project-specific stuff can be actually committed to their repository, like normal one, if you need that. Yeah. Any more questions? So in this case, thanks everyone for being here. That was a pleasure. Thank you.